The Las Vegas Raiders have already made some major moves to kick off the 2025 offseason. With the firing of Antonio Pierce, the Raiders will also be in the head coaching market as well. And I think Las Vegas is going to be a pretty popular spot, I think, for optimistic coaches to go and play here. And Ryan and I, we're going to break that down. My name's Tyler, and we're going to break down the Las Vegas Raiders 2025 offseasons on the free agents and potential targets that they can go after that you want to look out for. But before I get into that, if you like the work that we put out and you want to see and you want to help the Tracy Take channel grow, easiest ways to subscribe to the channel, tackle that bell to get notified when new videos come out. Leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you want the new Raiders head coach to be. And Ryan, that being said, what very odd year for the Raiders. The post Josh
Yeah.
McDaniels, but then there was kind of a little bit of the turmoil with the Devontae Adams, who ended up getting traded, and then brought in Gardner Minshew, and that offense just wasn't the same. And then Aidan O'Connell, he actually looked good, and I'll talk about him more in a little bit here. But he was getting hurt. Defensive side was getting hurt as well with Maxx Crosby not playing a full season. Christian Wilkins, their big free agent signing, he only played in 5 games, it looks like. Yeah. So, like, just a big loss overall. So, it's very odd just to kind of like look at this team because still it's I kind of could be optimistic for this team if the right moves are made. But one clear area though that to help out whoever's going to be quarterback, whoever's going to be the head coach, is they got to get a running game going. You
Yeah.
can't average less than 80 yards per game when you don't really have like the stud quarterback. You don't really have a they've got a good defense when healthy. They've got a good defense. They need to address the secondary a little bit more, which we'll talk about here in a second. But this running game, though, I think is the thing that really sticks out to me that they got to focus on. And I think part of that has to do offensive line has to improve. Got to get a better running back. And there's a couple names that we're going to talk about here as well. But Ryan, I want to throw it over to you. Just looking back at 2024, what was your just kind of like overall quick thought of the Raiders?
Well, the first half of the season was a lot of, I think, trying to figure themselves out. There was a lot of, I think, turmoil in that locker room, just a lot of issues. That was when Devontae Adams was traded. But I will say, not that I disagree with the Antonio Pierce firing, that defense and team as a whole was playing fairly well at the end of the season. They played Kansas City in a really tough game. That like they had a lot of really tough games there down the stretch. And I will say, Aidan O'Connell like looked decent at times throughout that stretch. Not saying he's like the quarterback of the future, but if you guys miss out on these quarterbacks, I think you could take a developmental guy on day 2 or 3 and feel pretty comfortable with him. And yeah, honestly, on the offensive side of the ball, the biggest thing that was lacking was just well, I guess the offensive line, they allowed 50 sacks and they were the worst rushing offense in the league. So that definitely needs to be improved. But like Jacoby Myers is a really solid wide receiver. You got Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. So that's a really good tight end room there. So all in all, like offensive weapons wise, I think that they're decent. They just need to kind of beef up that offensive line, and maybe they'll go the Steelers route and draft a running back at in the first round. I won't say his name just yet to keep Raiders fans going on to the end of the video, but yeah, it was a little bit of a up and down
I will
season.
say the Raiders are picking 6. Like, there's really only one running back
Yeah, I know. But
that you would
we'll
take
just
there, and so
maybe it's Amarian Hampton. Who knows?
maybe it's Cam Scatterboo. You know,
Yeah,
you never
yeah.
know.
If they take Cam Scatterboo at 6, that would be
He does
somebody's
seem
getting
like
fired in that front office.
a Raider. I will say
Yeah,
that.
and actually, I don't think that would be a bad pick. Everybody, that's a
Not
different
at 6.
conversation for a different.
Not at 6 overall. Maybe
No. Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
round 3.
Yeah, round 3,
Maybe
round 4, that's not a
yeah,
bad pick,
yeah.
especially
So
if you go and do get an offensive lineman in this draft. And so I think there's a lot to improve upon here, but I think like the bones of this franchise are actually at a decent spot. And if they do end up getting a Shadur Sanders or a Cam Ward, if they fall to him at 6 or they end up making a move, I don't think that this is a horrible situation for them to come into.
well, and I think even too, if you want to go on to the next slide when we start talking about like the offseason free agencies, whoever they do end up bringing then in as well, to your point, you got a serviceable quarterback in Aidan O'Connell, and I'll break that down a little bit more here in a second when you just look at his stats. Brock Bowers is a generational tight end talent, like clear pass catcher one.
Oh, yeah.
And so Jacoby Myers, which you mentioned as well. You got Maxx Crosby, your stud edge rusher. And Eric, I think you got a good leader in Robert Spillane, who I believe he is going to be a free agent. Is he on?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's the
yeah,
second name
he's
on
on
there.
there.
Yeah.
So, but I think he's a guy that you can bring back as well. And I think one thing too, as well, when you look at this free agency list, is this isn't everybody, which shows you how many people that were on there. We tried to include as many people that had like somewhat meaningful minutes. We didn't include like long snappers or like practice squad guys that never got like time to play.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys that they're going to have to go through. It's going to be very interesting to see. But with all the cap space that they have, we've seen this before with the Raiders. I'm pretty sure last year was like this as well, where you just look at all of the moves that it's and guys that are leaving. It's it's something that they've managed before. They absolutely have the money if they want to bring back a lot of these guys. And so, but as a whole, though, if I think offensively, like there is some optimism here when you're looking at where they're picking. Uh, there's going to be Ashton Genty, obviously the running back out of Boise State. Ted McMillan, I think if you want to help out Aidan O'Connell, whoever the quarterback is going to be, he's going to be available at 6 as well here. As I think like skill position players and running backs are going to be the main guys that you're looking at here to target in the draft. If they want to go a different route and wait on those guys and try and get skill position players later, because there's a lot of good running backs or also a lot of solid receivers that they could go and get day 2. Getting a guy like Will Johnson address the secondary, or Will Campbell or Calvin Banks address that offensive line just to help protect whoever their quarterback is going to be. And that's like one thing too, Ryan, as well. Like quickly, I know I've been talking here for a quick second, but quarterback position is obviously one of like the major needs for this team, or this thing that they need to figure out, like make a decision on. So they want to just keep moving forward with
Yeah.
Aidan O'Connell. And I think you'd have a reasonable argument for Aidan O'Connell being the guy. So he only finished. I say only. He finished 5 games this season because his first 2 games he got put in kind of during garbage time, or Gardner Minshew was not playing well at all. And so Minshew got benched in both the Carolina game and the Denver game. Uh, and then he started against Pittsburgh, where he threw for 227 yards and a touchdown. Defense gave up 32 points in that game against Pittsburgh. The next game against the Rams was when he actually broke his collarbone. So then he was out for some time. But then his first game back was the 340-yard game against Kansas City. Then he was having a pretty decent game against Tampa Bay before then he got hurt in that one, then missed the next couple of weeks. Then he rattled off 3 straight performances over 200 passing yards, and he had 4 touchdowns, only 1 pick in that game. I do think there's an argument for just keeping Aidan O'Connell, not spending a bunch of money on Sam Darnold, who could come in, and I think Sam Darnold would do absolutely fine in Las Vegas. Or if you'd want to trade for Kirk Cousins, would Kirk Cousins do better than what Aidan O'Connell is doing right now? I think Aaron Rodgers would be an interesting fit, depending on what the cap space would be if he got cut. So like, there's things to think about, but I think if they move forward with Aidan O'Connell, I think that might be an okay move for 2025. Just kind of keep riding it out because I don't think he was the main issue on why they were losing games when he started.
Well, I agree when he was playing. However, with the inconsistencies there with his health, the best ability is availability. You maybe want to be adding like an insurance policy there. But
Oh,
again,
yeah.
I think to me, if Quinn Ewers comes out, go draft Quinn Ewers in the 3rd
Well, yeah.
round. If Carson Beck comes out, go draft Carson Beck in the 3rd round. I don't think that they should be in play for some of these big name, I said with air quotes, big name quarterbacks that are going to be available in the free agent market. And I just this team, they need, in my opinion, need to build up through the trenches. There's no one in this draft that's really worth moving up for, in my opinion, especially from 6 to 1 or 2. You're going to be giving up probably multiple first rounders or at least multiple top 100 future top 100 picks. So I don't think it's in their best interest to move up. Maybe they get lucky and one of those guys falls to them at 6. But I think that their best interest, it would be to draft the best player available on the board and then maybe draft a developmental guy. Because even you go look, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, I think are 2 very interesting prospects that are going to be available probably at the beginning of day 3 in that 4th, 5th round area. So like there are a lot of other options at quarterback. You could take the Aidan O'Connell route with these quarterbacks. So some of the free agent guys that I think outside of the quarterback position, address that cornerback position. DJ Reed is a name that we have kind of been using but he represents like a larger group of really solid like cornerback twos that are coming out. The other name that I like to throw around is Travarius Ward from San Francisco, who's a really talented corner. And then I know like Eric Stokes from Green Bay is going to be a free agent as well. There are some interior offensive linemen. Trey Smith is probably the cream of the crop in this offseason. However, like Will Fries is going to be a free agent as well. And then there are some tackles. Cam Robinson, Morgan Moses is going to be another one. Ronnie Stanley from Baltimore is another. So like there's a lot of different ways I think that they could go about building out this roster. And frankly, as long as they're doing things to support this quarterback and strengthen this defense, I don't really think that there's a wrong way to go. And then
Mhm.
to throw on top of all of this, you're going to be getting a new head coach in there who's going to be bringing in his system. So whether that's Mike Vrabel, I hope not as a Patriots fan because I want him there, but Ben Johnson is another guy that's been thrown around. Brian Flores is another really talented defensive coordinator as well. So there are a lot of guys that in this coaching cycle that are up for head coaching jobs. The Raiders, one, they have a super nice facility. Then you get to live in Las Vegas, and they have a ton of money to be thrown at this football team. So this is a pretty desirable head coaching destination. The only thing it's really lacking, I think, is a quarterback, a true franchise quarterback at the
Well,
moment.
and that's where I think if you're a head coach, you're going to have some time to kind of finagle that.
Yeah,
And that's what, to me, the two head coaching candidates that really like I think would be good fits there. To me, it would one guy you mentioned, Brian Flores. Another guy I think that'd be very intriguing would be Joe Brady and his offense, like how
yeah,
he could scheme up um, uh, Brock Bowers to get open, and then if they draft Ashton Genty in the first round, you know how will this running game develop? Because he has absolutely uh, helped and been one of the main reasons why this Buffalo Bills rushing offense has taken off the way that it
yeah.
has. And so I think he would be very interesting down in Las Vegas as well. And nothing against Ben Johnson. Also, I feel like Ben Johnson might be more of a Chicago guy or maybe even a Jacksonville guy as well. Maybe he can go to Las Vegas also. So Raiders are, I think, it's frustrating as it is, especially too. Then when you were in the first overall pick and then you guys won 2 games to get out of it. Ryan knows that exact feeling.
I'm not mad about it. We have our quarterback, so
That's true, but it can be kind of doom and gloom. But at the same time, you just kind of looking through the numbers. 2025 could be a very optimistic year, I think, for the Las Vegas Raiders.
yeah, no, definitely. They have a lot of talent on that roster. If they can get a coach to come in and put it all together with some more young talent, I think that could lead to positive results for the Raiders. So
Yeah.
let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you want to see the Raiders do in the 2025 offseason. Do you want them to bring in Brian Flores, Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Joe Brady? Let us know. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.